Okay, let's do things a little differently this week for Porterverse Workbench. This is the graveyard of the Porterverse Workbench. Some of these models may have appeared on my channel a long time ago. Others, I believe, only were revealed to Twitter. And for those wondering, no, I don't think I'll ever be revisiting these guys, sadly, as I would like to make some of the main characters like James and Duck, for example, in the future. Maybe even some more dummy units, you know? But I figured it'd be kind of cool to just let these guys just rot away in the box under my desk for eternity. So here we are. Let's get into the relics of the past in the graveyard. Here we have the remains of an engine that was once known as Hamilton. This was made using a Bachmann 060 that was painted into the Big City Railroad star colors. In the front of the engine was achieved using an index card, which I thought looked cool at the time, then I realized that it actually breaks US railroad regulations that requires a Buckeye coupler at the front of every engine. It still runs actually, but very slowly. But yeah, I don't think I'll ever be revisiting this character, as I just eventually got bored of it and retired it. And so that's where he stands. Hamilton. Here is one that was actually really close to completion. Crazy Bartholomew. This was made using a 3D print file designed by Scarlet Boy on Twitter, and it was painted yellow. Made this about like 2, 3, 4 months ago, I guess. And let me tell you, the printing stage for this shell was absolute hell. It failed, I saw it like 7 times, and I had to add like 8,000 supports to this thing. Despite all the supports being added onto it in the print process, it still ended up a little bit warped. And the removal of supports ended up causing some of the window frames to break off. But the running board, man, ugh, that was what killed it. It broke repeatedly during the painting process, and it was also pretty warped as well. And the back buffer beam was basically destroyed beyond proportion, so I tried fixing it with some index card, but it ultimately looked like shit, so yeah. And that is the death of the Crazy Bartholomew model. This model actually is a very similar story to the last one. This was my work in progress of a 2015 Thomas. This is meant to be a realistic take on that special Thomas Wooden Railway 2-pack that came out with that 1942 Thomas for the 70th anniversary. I even bought a special blue spray paint to match this model. But, like Bartholomew, there were durability issues with supports, some more than others, and the buffer beam for this print was also shot. It wasn't as bad as the last model, but it was still very noticeable. And the lighting is pretty good, I'd say, but the numbering. Oh, that number 1 is atrocious. Both of them are. See, I tried using paint pens for this to be more precise with it, but despite letting the paint dry for an absurd amount of time, the paints ended up reactivating and mixing with each other to make a weird orange color. So yeah. Here is the remains of locomotive number 3. I believe this guy was only ever seen in my 2022 big train collection video. He basically vanished into the void after that video, as I never really found a purpose for the model. It was more or less a painting exercise, if anything. And the more I just looked at it, the more I started to dislike it. And thus it was banished to the box under the desk. Oh, this is pretty funny actually. These are my remains of my Harvey model. So yeah, Percy basically was cannibalized to become Harvey, and all of them ended up being scrapped altogether. Kinda sad though. Yeah, well, I mean, I could do better with the skills I developed now if I were to remake Harvey in the future. But yeah, this was made using an old Harvey pocket rocket. Here is the single remaining piece of my original Percy model. This is the boiler or saddle tank of the Hornby Pocket Rocket. The original model was actually a repaint with no mods at all to the bodywork. But yeah, there's actually one mod that I actually want to redo. Maybe with a 3D printed shell, probably a Pug or Pekka chassis in the future. Here is the remains of Puffa. My original Puffin model from 2022. I tried redoing this guy alongside a little owl, but the more I looked at it, the more I realized that it could have been a better take on the model, probably a little bit closer to the original source material. But yeah, that's my original Puffin model. And here's the final scrapped model of the graveyard. Duchess. Her story involves me trying to make a Henry Mark I out of the chassis. See, I tried taking apart the chassis completely to paint the frames and the wheels red, and thus the model now no longer works without the railing. And that, my friends, is the Porterverse Workbench Graveyard. I must admit, it was pretty fun diving into these old models again. It's been a while since I've actually seen some of them. Thank you all very much for watching this episode of Porterverse Workbench, and I will see you all in the next one.